The biggest issues that Illinois and other states face is probably the lack of, full support from the federal government. We need to increase the amount of money that we receive from the federal government for Pell Grants. That's one. Two, we also have our own financial problems, our budget pressures. We're funding K through 12, we're funding healthcare, we're funding other state mandates and entitlements.
So in the Great Recession, we unfortunately cut higher education in this state substantially, and they had to respond with substantial tuition increases. Those get passed on to consumer, to the students and their families if they're getting supported by their families. So, how do we support very carefully? But when you are in a real downward spin, higher ed takes the brunt, and then in the subsequent years, we have to dig out of that hole. How do we improve our funding for higher ed? And higher ed's become so competitive and so costly across the country, just based on the legacy of higher education in the United States and how it needs to be more innovative as a collective of colleges and universities.
I mean, if we want to grow the workforce, then I think that we should move that to the front end, where people say, we will pay for your bachelor's degree if you come and work here and commit to us. That would be great. I know that in Illinois, we have the dual enrollment programs. That really helps with the cost of tuition. Some students get those prerequisites out of the way and come into their university as a sophomore because they do so many dual credits throughout the year, and they go to summer school and get those credits out the way when it's a lot cheaper.
I still don't think higher education, broadly speaking, is tapping into the capability and the lower cost model that it has to offer people that want to pursue a degree and get out on their own terms. And by that, I mean not to reduce quality or the rigor of the academic experience, but through the online process, through the timing process, through the pace process. And I think that's something that still has not been fully explored and exploited, if you will, by the higher education community. There are exceptions, obviously, but I still think we're still stuck in that traditional model, which can be quite an expensive delivery model.
Many times tuition and debt becomes a problem when students change majors or when they change universities. We need to have some type of agreement amongst the universities where credit transfers are going to be honored. Because if you transfer from one university to the next and your credits are not accepted, then you have to start all over. You've already paid for those credits. Now you have to pay again. So that's a challenge.
As far as the cost, I think one of the things that we at the state level can do is maybe be more targeted in trying to support those areas of the workforce that are really needed. And by that, I mean, we've got a teaching shortage or a shortage of teachers in Alabama. And like most states, people are choosing not to go into education for whatever reasons, and that's a whole nother topic. But is that something that we as a state can get behind and help, particularly at the entry levels, to incentivize people to go into education or to go into nursing is another field that is in high demand and most needed in our society. I don't want to belittle perhaps the arts or any other area, but right now, with a shortage, it affects all citizens of the state if you don't have enough nurses, and we need our hospitals and doctors' offices certainly staffed with a competent nursing cadre.
One of the problems that we see in the higher ed space right now is the value of a degree. Some students are graduating with degrees that has value, but it has personal value. It doesn't really have the value for the workforce. So we need to have serious collaborations with the workforce to find out exactly what the workforce needs so that we can make sure that we target our degrees at our public universities and our private universities to give the business community what they need. And, I know liberal arts colleges, people have a right to graduate with whatever degree they want. But I think that if Illinois, for example, want to increase its enrollment in our universities, we have to prove to the businesses that we're going to graduate people out of our public universities and send them what they need to be successful in their businesses.
Are there limitations? Yes. The private sector will determine what the compensation will be. But I also think it's important for the colleges, and I don't know how you legislate this or mandate this, to make sure that students know what the future compensation is in the field that may seem so appealing to them, that they understand when they get out. Being a professional basket weaver will probably not pay the kind of money that they think they're going to get to do that. And I know there are states, and we've done this in Alabama, requiring dashboards for students to realize how much potential fields will gain them in compensation. We're fortunate in that we can look and see what's been successful in other states and basically plagiarize or steal ideas from around the other 49 and bring them home here and try to implement them if they're sound policy decisions. So having that broker of ideas and information is invaluable to us at the state level, and grateful for the organizations like NCSL that make that happen.
The collaboration with the business community, setting up internships immediately for their students so that they have a relationship with the businesses when they graduate. One, even if they don't work at the business where they do the internship, they automatically have the degree and they have the experience of working in their profession. And that right there will give an advantage to those students that have an internship while attaining their degree. Internships are critical. You see it in most professions. You see it in the teaching profession. You see it in the medical profession where they, before they get their full degrees, they go out and they do internships. And most of them automatically land a job because of that experience.
If you're first generation, perhaps, or potentially a college student where your parents didn't go to a university or college, that's the type of person that needs that hand up, if you will, to make that next rung or that jump into junior college. They haven't seen it identified in the home place, perhaps, and how can we keep them on track? And I think that it would be cost efficient for us to offer incentives. A lot of states have done this in the junior college realm. It's lower cost than the 4 years for sure.